Survive in advance. Survive in advance. Survive in advance. I think that's what you have to keep telling yourself after this one. Hey, Syracuse won. But there's plenty of reasons why they shouldn't. But they did. And at this time of the year, that's all that matters. Is somehow, some way you pull off the win. And that's what the Orange did tonight, beating Florida State in Charlotte in their opening round matchup of the ACC Tournament. 66-62 was your final score. Welcome to Syracuse Basketball Postgame, presented by Krause Health, the exclusive healthcare partner for Syracuse Athletics. You got Brent Axe with you here, and boy, was that a dumb basketball game. That's just a dumb basketball game. But if you're going to play a dumb basketball game, you want to get the win. As my guy Mark C. said, sure tested the adage that there's no such thing as an ugly win. Survived and advanced, baby. And Gary D said it best here, too. I need Tums. Yes, I think we're out of fingernails. We need Tums. We're pulling hair out. I mean, the range of emotions in watching Syracuse have a 16-point lead, wilt down to almost blowing it at the end. There's an inbounds pass. They turn it over. Florida State goes down and scores. That's your inbounds play, by the way, after 2 timeouts. Fantastic. But Kyle Cuff makes his free throws, as does Jair Davis at the end, in a game that Syracuse didn't make their free throws, amongst the many reasons they shouldn't have won this game, but they did win this game. So they will move on to take on SMU, a team they just played and did not beat in a similar circumstance not so long ago. So that's something that Adrian Autry and this coaching staff better be doing as we speak, watching film of that game, picking out the big mistakes from that game and saying, we cannot do that again tonight. Syracuse has to be a lot better in a number of categories to beat SMU on Wednesday night, as we will talk about here. We will hear from our Syracuse Sports Insiders. Being a Syracuse Sports Insider gives you exclusive access on this post-game show and the Syracuse Sports Podcast by texting me anytime. You want to talk during games, and you guys certainly did that. We rode the roller coaster together once again, but you can text me anytime. Your thoughts, your opinions, questions that you have that you want me to ask players and coaches, or just want to shoot the bull. Talk some Syracuse sports. That's what we're there for on the Syracuse Sports Insider text line. The information right there on your screen on how you can join our growing community of Syracuse basketball, Syracuse football, Syracuse lacrosse, all matters of Syracuse sports, passionate fans. And you get text from me, you text me directly, and it's just $3.99 a month to do it. You can sign up free for 2 weeks, though, and give it a shot. I mean, the reasons Syracuse should have lost this game outweigh the reasons they should have won this game. I mean, first of all, this is just not a smart basketball team. Now, they did foul late, okay? They're up 64-61. You got to foul up 3 in that situation. And whether you believe in fouling up 3 in that situation or not, you had to in that circumstance. This game screamed for it to happen, and they did it. And you got to give Syracuse credit for making the right play at the right time. But, man, were there so many times they did not. We mentioned the inbounds play. Okay, Jair Davis not being subbed. I've talked all year about how Adrian Autry is always 2 or 3 possessions behind when he needs to either substitute or put somebody back in the game, right? Davis out way too long in that circumstance. Eddie Lampkin, same thing in the second half, right? Free throws. As you know, Uncle Brent loves to say it, free throws matter. Syracuse was 12 of 22 at the free throw line, leaving way too many points off the board. But when Florida State is responding by going 18 of 27 at the free throw line, and it should be noted, that's how Florida State plays. Florida State's great at getting to the free throw line, and that is how they have been successful this year. They're good at it, and it's baked into the cake. That's how they play. And if they're going to go 18 for 27 from three-point range, or pardon me, from the free throw line, it's going to help. 3 points tonight. Syracuse 2 of 14. You have got to hit threes against Florida State to beat Florida State, and they didn't hit threes against Florida State. Only a Jaquan Carlos 3 very early in the game and a Jair Davis 3 very early in the game. Lucas Taylor 0 for 6, couple of guys missing. Chris Bell, who didn't even score in this game, which, again, can't be the case if you're going to beat SMU on Wednesday night. He's 0 of 3 from three-point range. Florida State responds by going 2 of 10. Now, Florida State's not a good three-point shooting team. I wasn't expecting them to shoot well from distance, but 2 of 14 for three-point range. The free throw shooting was terrible. I mean, offensively, Syracuse is 44% on the day. FSU 40% from the day. Syracuse did their damage in the paint, 44-32. That was big, right? Syracuse led for 38 minutes in this game, yet no fingernail left in a Syracuse fan's home anywhere after watching this game. And just the ways that they wilt, the ways that they find ways to lose, the ways that they take a 16-point lead in this circumstance. And no lead is safe. Nothing easy. Syracuse was even wearing the T-shirts before the game. Nothing easy. That defines this team. There were so many things that were appropriate that happened during the regular season that found their way into the postseason here. But you know what? It is survive in advanced season. And that's what Syracuse did. J.J. Starling was huge. Now look, J.J. had 27 points. 19 of those 27 came in the second half. For the most part, Mamba mode J.J. paid off. Now, they didn't put the ball in J.J.'s hands down the stretch because he's not a good free throw shooter. 3 of 8 tonight. There were moments in this game when J.J. made you nervous. I mean, one of the key ingredients in all of those second half breakdowns that Syracuse had, including against SMU, is J.J. goes into Mamba mode, tries to take over, turns the ball over. Tonight, he had what was an amazing missed dunk. I mean, if you're going to miss a dunk, make it look good. Flies towards the rim, just goes right off the back of the rim. Syracuse commits a backcourt violation, right? It's just one of those, it's like the sweater song from Weezer. If you want to destroy my sweater, hold this thread as I walk away. And you could just see the sweater unraveling for Syracuse with plays like that. Missed dunks when you did need to go in for the dunk, and just, they were actually joking about it with JJ on the ACC Network postgame show a little bit. So good on JJ kind of going along with the joke there. But they were just trying to find ways to lose this game again. But this time they didn't. This time they escaped with it. They fouled up 3 at the end, which was huge. They made their free throws at the end, even though they made their free throws all night. You just got to find ways, right? All the cliches come to life in the postseason. Jair Davis did have 14 points and 6 rebounds. Eddie Lampkin with 14 and 9 in this game. He was huge in the first half because nobody could score for a good 10 to 12 minute stretch of the first half. It became a rock fight. Syracuse missed like 9 out of 10 shots at one point, countered with Florida State, missing a bunch of shots. Offense just went in the tank for the last 10 minutes of the first half, but it was working with Eddie. Florida State did a much better job in the second half in taking Eddie out of the game, just not letting him get those easy looks. They were doubling him. They were just doing everything they could to make sure that Eddie was not, and Florida State's a bigger team than, say, who they played in the regular season finale on Saturday night in Virginia. We knew they had more size. And I'll tell you what, Syracuse's defensive intensity was really good in this game from start to finish, okay? Their effort has not been a question. Their motor has been very high, really all year, but certainly in the last month or so. This is a team that, look, I don't give credit for playing hard and, you know, for not quitting and all these things, because you're supposed to do that as a Division I basketball player. You don't want to go out there and look bad. And Florida State actually, in Leonard Hamilton's last game, as it turns out, because whenever they lost here in the postseason, it would be his last game. As we knew, he's on his way out. They had the new coach there in the building last night. They interviewed him on the broadcast. So, first of all, shout out to Leonard Hamilton for, I mean, that dude is 76. He's 76 going on 55. Like, that dude is in great shape. He looks amazing. And all the years of dedication to the game, to young men and women that he has guided over the years, a classy guy, just classy to the core, one of the greats. And we've seen so many big names walk away, not only from college basketball, but just the ACC alone in the last 4 years. Just a true changing of the guard, of course, with Jim Boeheim and Mike Krzyzewski and Roy Williams walking away. Jim Larinaga this year, Tony Bennett recently, right? You've just had all these huge coaching icons. You go beyond the Big East, or pardon the Big East. You go beyond the ACC to the Big East. Guys like Jay Wright that have retired, and all these coaches that have just, they don't want to do it in the modern era, the NIL era of college basketball. So we have seen a true changing of the guard. There's only so many big names left. You know, Rick Pitino at St. John's and Dan Hurley at Connecticut, and I'm missing a few here, certainly, that are still out there doing it and are recognizable. But man, Leonard Hamilton, shout out to you, my friend. Just classy all the way. And you hate, I mean, Syracuse had to win. It's the tournament, but man, you hate to see it at the expense of a guy like Leonard Hamilton. So shout out to him. But look, Florida State came into this game, and the challenge that Syracuse was going to have was with that size. So they did play better in the second half, shutting Eddie Lampkin down, which opened up lanes. JJ found matchups and took advantage of them. Yet, how many times are you kind of cringing, honestly? JJ don't do that. JJ don't force it. Look for the open guy. But look, JJ is their go-to guy. Love him or hate him. You got to be all in with somebody wanting the ball, taking the game over. Carlos had an interesting game. He only had one turnover. Felt like more than that. Just 5 points. But do you know who the second leading rebounder in this game was outside of Eddie Lampkin for Syracuse, who had 9? Yeah, Jaquan Carlos. Kept a lot of possessions going. So even when he's not on his offensive game, even when he's not out there dishing a bunch of assists, he only had 2 assists in this game, and he'll find a way. Carlos has played a lot better down the stretch. And he needs to, because Syracuse obviously needs him. Elijah Moore has not been healthy enough to play. He has been warming up. He's been testing that toe injury as of late, but Elijah Moore just not able to get back out there and play. Looks like he's done for the season. I wouldn't imagine why he'd play tomorrow night if he didn't play tonight, but we'll keep an eye on it and see. And look, if Syracuse keeps going here and wants to pull a DJ Burns, NC State, like go as deep as they can run, and keep in mind, Syracuse has not won 2 in a row at the ACC tournament. If they beat SMU tomorrow night, it's the first time they would have won 2 in a row in this tournament since getting into the ACC just over 10 years ago. They do not have a good track record in this tournament, never have. So that'd be a heck of a trend to break if they could put some wins together and go deep into this thing. But think of everything that's got to get markedly better in one day. Now, I'll say this. Syracuse 12 of 32 in the first half, but 29 of those 32 shots were good shots. They missed a bunch of bunnies. That's what I'm talking about with JJ. JJ had 27 points in this game. He could have had 36 just by showing up and the way he was getting to the rim, but he missed a bunch of bunnies in the first half. 12 of 32, a bunch of good shots, but like we said, the last 10 minutes of that first half, nobody was making anything, right? It turned into a rock fight, but then Syracuse comes out of the halftime. They're attacking the basket. They're staying away from the three-point line. Lucas Taylor fired up a couple more, which is interesting because nobody shot well from three-point land all day in Charlotte. Nobody did. And Donna DeToda, who's there, tweeted about this a couple of times, saying at one point, and I'm paraphrasing what she said, but it was basically like, I'm telling you, these rims are not very good. Those rims did look tight. Lucas Taylor had a couple of threes that looked like they should have dropped, but they didn't. 0 for 6 from three-point range tonight, but Chris Bell didn't make any either, and nobody was making threes all day. So we'll see if that continues tomorrow, Wednesday, depending on when you're listening to this, when there's 4 games in Charlotte. And you had a controversial call and the Notre Dame Pitt game. That is one of the worst calls I have ever seen. I cannot believe that got called in that spot. I can't believe a ref would think to make that call, which was nowhere near a foul, especially in that spot with less than 2 seconds to go. It is a shame. I don't know the ref's name offhand, but they should take him out of rotation immediately. That is egregious. That call was terrible. You hate to see any team season end in a manner like that. And ACC refs didn't have a great day overall. There's a couple of times in this game that out of bounds play they were reviewing late in the game. Like you just felt like they were going to, because it was off Florida State, you're like, oh, they're going to reverse this and say Eddie Lampkin knocked the ball out. But at least they got that call right. We had a nice 7-minute break when they were reviewing Kyle Cuff for some reason, who got called for a foul when he got backed into. Now, Kyle's a good actor. Kyle could be great in the Premier League because my man knows how to flop. But the refs didn't have a great day at the ACC. So let's hope Wednesday's better, especially if Syracuse is going to stick around for a day or two in this thing. Let's hope they get their act together in this thing, because the officiating was not at its best, but especially that call in the Notre Dame Pitt game. So look, there were more reasons they should have lost this game than they should have won this game. But this time of year, when that calendar says March, John Rothstein says it best, this is March. You just got to find a way to win. You just got to hang on. Even when there are so many reasons, and I'm probably forgetting a few off the top of my head, that they should have lost this game. Absolutely incredible. Our Syracuse Sports Insiders were fired up, as you can imagine here. Gave you a couple of them early, but let's go back to them. Jack W. saying free throws only matter to Kyle Cuff. Jair Davis had a couple at the end, too. Got to give him credit for that. You just knew something weird could happen. He'd go 1 of 2, and Florida State would fling up a prayer and send it to overtime, but not on this night, my friend. So on a night Syracuse did not make their free throws overall, they certainly mattered in that spot. Jim B, not that Jim B, said survive in advance. But, man, I wish we could just get 40 minutes of consistency. You did get it in the Virginia game, but obviously Virginia certainly not on the level that we saw of a Florida State tonight. Eddie P says, last week I posted my 3 points for Syracuse to make a tournament run. 1, defense for 40 minutes. 2, fast start at the beginning of each half. 3, hashtag free throws matter. In today's game, well, a solid nope. Their defense was pretty good. It wasn't 40 minutes of defense, but better. They did have a somewhat fast start at the beginning of the first half and played well in the first half, Eddie. So I'll meet you halfway on that one. And, of course, free throws matter, depending on how you look at it. They certainly did matter in this one here. Going forward, those things will all be important for Syracuse. From Al, who says, aside from the stupid dunk attempt, JJ picked his spots well down the stretch. That's the kind of efficiency that Syracuse is going to need from him. He made free throws, or pardon me, he said, had we made free throws and some wide open threes, they would have won easily. Which makes me think, yeah, if you shoot a little bit better against SMU, and they were 2 of 14 from three-point range, right? So if you're 7 of 14, 50%, 6 of 14, like they were against Virginia the other day, make some more free throws. The cushion builds. Now, SMU is a different style team than Florida State is, but Syracuse shot, you think going forward, if they get into a groove, make a few more of their free throws, make some more threes, play defense the way they did tonight, they've got it in their back pocket as much as they had to survive in advance and just, man, really white-knuckle this thing down the stretch. Sometimes the teams that have the momentum are the teams you don't want to play. SMU only a sit for a day. Clemson's looming after that. Sometimes the worst thing is playing a team that's building momentum, building confidence, knows who they are, and you've been sitting around for 2 days waiting, having earned that bye. So I'm not saying Syracuse can make a deep run here, but I think they can beat SMU tomorrow. They almost did it, 10 days ago, down the stretch of the season at SMU. They had a double-digit lead in that game, as they've had many double-digit leads in the second half and just completely wilted. One of the worst losses of, frankly, a string of a number of bad losses for Syracuse this year. But at least they have that tape. They've got that fresh. See, Florida State, the last time you played Florida State was 2 months ago. Completely different circumstance. JJ had just come back. Huge game for him tonight. Donnie Freeman goes out in that game. Carlos, again, didn't have his best night tonight, but has certainly been playing better as of late. So the Syracuse team you're playing tonight versus the Syracuse team you played then, think of the difference. The Syracuse team that lost to SMU versus the one that's going to play SMU Wednesday night, there's actually a difference between that team too. This team, they haven't won 2 in a row since early January, and it's not pretty. And again, they find more ways to lose than win, but their motor doesn't stop, and they've got confidence, right? They've got some of those little things you can put in your pocket in March that make you feel good about where you're at as a team. Now, you've got that film from just a few days ago, just over a week ago, to go back and say, what happened down the stretch of that game? And how do we prevent that, right? I mean, that's been their MO. I don't know if you can just wipe the slate clean on that. You kind of are who you are at this point, but at least they just played this team. And I think that's an advantage for the team that played the night before as the one that's got to jump started a day later. We'll see. I could be dead wrong about that, but moving on here to some more comments from our Syracuse Sports Insiders. There it is. Gabe says, cardiac Cuse. A few points from Gabe. He says, one, that rim had been tough on shooters all night and all day. Can they adjust it, and will they? They should. Sometimes you go to these arenas, tournaments, I don't know if those are new rims or how often those are used or what the case may be, and they're just tight, right? Different rims. It's just, I've seen it before. I remember going to, not to bring up bad memories, guys, but Syracuse, Vermont, NCAA tournament, I know, sorry. 2005 in Worcester, Mass. And you could tell they brought in some backboards and rims that they just never used. They didn't use often anyways. A hockey arena they played in. I remember watching warm-ups, and it was swaying during warm-ups. There were dead spots in the floor, right? So this is 2005. Since then, the NCAA has mandated everybody uses the same court in their new courts, and you don't get kind of, and everything looks the same. It's all sanitized, right? You don't get kind of the unique looks of the arena. So I don't know. Those rims were tight. I agree with Donna. Donna knows. Donna played, and she can spot these things. And I wonder if any of the players have talked about it. I wonder if Donna asked about that afterwards. We'll have to keep an eye out for that. So hopefully they do adjust them if they determine they were just a little too squeaky, a little too tight. Gabe adds, all respect to Leonard Hamilton. Absolutely. And Syracuse has never won 2 in a row at the ACC tournament. Can they do it against SMU? I mean, look, they almost beat them the other day. What makes me say they can't beat them Wednesday night? Chris V says, got to give them credit. They faltered as they have often, but they didn't quit. Red the good old boy says, watching these guys play and our coaches coach, air quotes, down the stretch of games makes me want to claw my eyes out. Lacey, wake up, Ryan, because Lacey's bringing the heat. Unpopular opinion. This team did not deserve to make it to the ACC tournament, nor did they deserve a win tonight. Come at me. I'm ready for it. Lacey's ready for the heat. Did they deserve to make the ACC tournament? I mean, they did what they had to do down the stretch to be one of 3 teams that didn't get in. And one of those teams that didn't get in fired their coach, who was in the Final Four last year, which tells you the thin line they're working here. I'll give them credit for this, Lacey. And again, I hate to do this because I think you're supposed to play this way. When you say they didn't deserve to make it to the tournament, nor did they deserve a win tonight, I mean, they did find more ways to lose this game than win this game. I'm not going to argue with some of the boneheaded decisions, bad plays, the inbounds play, and just wilting another 16-point lead. They didn't play that way, but there's something endearing about how this team does play. As Chris's comment pointed out here, right? They don't quit. And again, you're not supposed to quit, but there is something about these guys that is likable in that way. They don't play well for 40 minutes. They're not smart for most of the game. They can, to go back to Red's comment here, make you want to claw your eyes out with some of their decision-making and their coaching and their substitutions. And, Mark's comment earlier said it too, about there's no such thing as an ugly win. They test your patience to the point where I can understand why Lacey would text something like that. But I'll give you the old, trying to think of a way to put this. Like there is something about the way they play that you have to admire. Like, they have not packed it in. They're not a team that looks at themselves as a sub 500 losing team. This is it. And you can see it in the way they play. They do play hard the way you need to. I will give you a smidge of credit for that. So I do disagree with you, Lacey. I think they did earn it. They did what they had to do down the stretch. They beat the teams they had to. They didn't fall apart in a certain point of view, right? This is a team that deserved to be in the ACC tournament, and they won a game tonight. I think I would agree with you had they found a way to lose this game tonight, which was that close, right? So I think we're that close to me agreeing with that comment, but by and large, I think they just went past that line of saying something like that. But come at Lacey. She's ready for you guys. Billy H. Shouldn't have been this close after having a 16-point lead, but that's their MO this season. Blowing leads. Lucky to walk away with this win. Missed free throws played a huge part for Florida State. So, yes, the adage is survive in advance, guys, and they are certainly testing your patience with that. So you move on. You get SMU. Syracuse had a 12-point lead in that game. I know it was another double-digit lead, a lead they should not have let slip in the manner in which they did, as Billy's last comment notes there. That's been their MO all year. No lead is safe. And the interesting thing is they are playing better defense. They're playing harder on defense. They're playing smarter on defense. They're matching up better, but it's all those little things, the bad decision-making, JJ taking over when he shouldn't, missing dunks, backcourt violations, bad timeout plays. The basketball IQ on this team, like, it wouldn't pass a test. But it's kind of, it's when Chris Farley, Tommy Boy, he goes up to I just got to check this out here. A D+. I passed. That's Syracuse, right? They have a D+ basketball identity, but they passed. They won. Now, how far that can carry them through the ACC tournament, I don't know. But that's the beauty of sports. That's the beauty of postseason play, and that's the beauty and ugliness all wrapped into one of survive and advance. A lot of people go to school for 7 years. Yeah, they're called doctors. Now the Tommy Boy lines are flowing here. Anyway, we got to pace ourselves, guys. Who knows how long we'll be doing this? And we got a late one tomorrow night because Syracuse SMU is a 9:30 tip. Now, this one tipped late because the game prior went to double overtime. Cal loves that overtime. Cal's still in it, by the way, for those of you that remember that old joke. But Cal loves it, some overtimes. 4 overtimes the other day to get into the ACC tournament, and then they go into double overtime tonight. Why not? Let's just keep playing overtime games, right? So Syracuse, Florida State actually started about an hour later than it should. 9:30 tip tomorrow night. These things never start on time. So I'm guessing it's probably going to be more like if the first game goes into overtime, the 7 o'clock tip, then forget it. All bets are off here. But am I thinking this is going to be an on-the-button, sharp 9:30 tip tomorrow night? No. But one way or the other, we'll be watching, we'll be on the text line, and we will have another Syracuse basketball postgame show for you. We're going to keep doing postgames as far as Syracuse can go here. So they survive and advance to another day. The Orange and SMU, 9:30 tip, scheduled in Charlotte on Wednesday night. We'll be with you for another edition of Syracuse Basketball Postgame after that one. Thanks for hanging tonight. Appreciate it as always. Make sure you subscribe, follow on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts, so you know when a new version of Syracuse Basketball Postgame, Syracuse Sports Podcast, is up, and you can listen and watch on demand when you want. Make sure you hang in our Syracuse Sports Insider text group. We'd love for you to join and be a part of our growing community of passionate Syracuse fans. Shout out to Ben S. Shout out to, who else was there? My guy Cody. I should pull up that picture. Where's that picture? Do I have it here? Let me see if I can find it. We got to give Cody a little shout out here on the pod. Let me see if I can pull it up. Give me a sec here, guys. Cody D, my guy. Is this it here? Okay. Let me see if I can pull this in here real quick. So Cody, one of our more passionate Syracuse Sports Insiders. Let's see. I think I could pull it in right here. Goes to the ACC tournament and was clearly the best-dressed Syracuse fan there. So this is what my man Cody wore on Tuesday. Boom. Look at that. Macho Man Randy Savage style, though, with those glasses. Is that a shirt and tie T-shirt he's got on there? I mean, that's incredible. So, Cody, I can't wait to see what you'll be wearing for Syracuse and SMU. So, shout out to Cody and Ben and any Syracuse fans that are down there in Charlotte. Look at that. You can see a reflection in those glasses. That's fantastic. So, if you are at the ACC tournament, make sure you send us a note on the Syracuse Sports Insider text line. It's hard to beat Cody right there, but that was fantastic. So if you're going in Charlotte, enjoy. But thanks for watching and listening tonight as Syracuse gets by the hair on their chinny chin. But that's what you do in March, right? Survive and advance. 66-62, your final in Charlotte. We'll be back for another edition of Syracuse Basketball Postgame after the Orange take on SMU on Wednesday night. We'll talk then.